Hi everyone, I'm Manav Sinha. And when I got to know that I will be driving a Mercedes AMG, of course I was excited. But then I found out it was the C43 and it came with a 4-cylinder engine. That does not sound like a proper AMG. But was it? And the answer lies right here in the engine bay. Now, usually in my reviews, I don't get too technical because I like to focus on the experience. However, in this case, let me make an exception. You see, this is a 2-liter 4-cylinder engine at the end of the day, which might piss off some AMG purists because this is a 2-liter 4-cylinder, not a big V6 or a V8. However, Mercedes AMG has pulled out all the stops in order to make you feel this drivetrain special. And it starts with the turbocharger technology because that is coming straight from Formula 1. What really is happening is that you have a big turbocharger, but you don't have to wait for it to spool up because there is a 48-volt mild hybrid system which helps the fan inside the turbo spool up even at lower RPM. So it's not entirely dependent on the exhaust gases, which means at the end of the day that you have instantaneous throttle response no matter which part of the ref band you are in. And when needed, that 48-volt mild hybrid system, well, it will shell off some horsepower to give you that acceleration when required as well. How cool is that? Let me know in the comments. Now, this engine follows AMG's one-man, one-engine philosophy, and that can be seen through this badge over here, which is signed by the person who made this engine, and I can verify they've done a good job. But it's not all F1 techie because it also gets a good old strut bar, and if you haven't noticed it yet, the engine is mounted longitudinally and not transversely as you see in most of the cars. Really exciting stuff right here. But as much as I want to get behind the wheel, I have to talk about the exterior changes too, so let's get that out of the way. At the front, the big highlight is the AMG Pan Americana grille, which really makes the car look nice. You also have a new sportier bumper, which completes the more aggressive front-end design. On the sides, you have 19-inch lightweight alloy wheels, which have really low-profile tires, which helps in performance, and that is something we'll talk about in a bit. Of course, you have the turbo electrified badge as well, and that is something rather unique. I've not seen that in any other car. You also have the blacked out side skirts, and at the back, the aggressive bumper also houses a blacked out diffuser element and a quad exhaust style at the back. Last but not the least, you also have a boot lid spoiler. And what I love is how all of this comes together in the way the car simply sits. The long bonnet up front, the short, stout stance makes this car look really, really sporty. Speaking of sporty, finally, it's time for me to get in and take you out for a drive.
No contest. There ain't no one like cause of you dumb or you crazy. There's no way, G. Me and my clique, we handling biz while you and your clique just act fugazi. You couldn't persuade me to give a damn, it just don't faze me. I got my best.
Remember all that F1 tech talk that we had, that instantaneous throttle response that this car is supposed to give? Well, next to the horn on this very nice AMG steering wheel is a rotator selector for the driving mode. So if I give it a couple of clicks, that should take me to Sport Plus. And if I put the pedal to the metal, go down a couple of gears, and the AMG C43 comes alive. And eventually, when you look down at the speedometer, you'll realize that you are doing really stupid speeds you shouldn't be doing at all, really. When you're out there in everyday driving conditions, as I am, do I feel the need for more cylinders? Not really. Do I want more power? Well, definitely not. 400 horsepower and 500 Newton meters of torque, 0 to 100 kilometers an hour in 4.6 seconds. That's quite a lot of performance for any car, and there's not a lot of driving conditions where you would want more than this. The engine is sublime, it's very well refined, and the gearbox is quite good too. I mean, it's not perfect. I'm not a big fan of how it downshifts, especially at lower RPMs. It can be a bit jerky, but at least on the upshifts, it's very fast and it knows very well which is the gear you would want to be when you're driving spiritedly. On the other hand, what I could use more of is suspension. The chassis and suspension is set up quite stiff, and in everyday city roads where there are quite a lot of undulations, you really do feel that because the car tends to rock side to side. I mean, everything that the car has is meant for pure performance. However, in order to make things better, you can select from a variety of driving setups. You can set up the suspension, you can set up the driving dynamics, you can set up the drivetrain response, and you can have an individual mode where all of these setups are put to your preference. I tried going through them over the past few days. I found a suspension setup that works best for me, and it turned out to be not comfort, it's actually sport. At least then the car doesn't rock side to side on road undulations, which is something I prefer. The car sits quite low to the ground, low enough that you would perhaps squint going over some unusually large speed bumps. But other than that, there has been no issues whatsoever. The car hasn't grazed its belly on regular speed breakers for whatever it's worth. But these are the downsides. What are the upsides to the C43? What I really love is that in everyday driving conditions, this just gels in. This is what a sleeper car should be like. You still have space to sit 4 people. The rear passengers can sit in very comfortably. Over at the front, you have large screens, connected tech, you have wireless Apple CarPlay, you have a big digital instrument cluster showing you all the information you need. All of the displays in the car can be customized with different themes and colors. You have a lot of things to do inside the car. So this is still a practical car, but a fast one at that. One of the things that I found missing though in the C43 is the oral experience. The engine is fast, the car is really quick, but the exhaust note is rather muted. The audio experience doesn't really keep up with that performance, and it could be something that is a miss for a lot of people. But it is also something that can be fixed with an aftermarket exhaust. And most of the people that I know who buy cars like the C43 or the M340i or the Audi S5, they often end up putting in a nice exhaust. So if you're planning to do that, then okay, but at least as stock, I am left wanting for more. Well, now it's time to sum up my experience with the C43 AMG. And in order to do that, I have to talk about the second controversial topic about the car, which is its price. Now, at an ex-showroom price of 98 lakh rupees, the car is eye-wateringly expensive. It competes with the BMW M340i and the Audi S5, both of which cost way less than what this car does. And if I were to buy this car, the first thing I would do is put in a nice exhaust, and that is an added cost, and all of which combined makes it quite an expensive deal. It's still a proper AMG though, even though it has a 4-cylinder engine. I never once felt that I wanted more. So if you're on the hunt for a proper performance car, if you want a car that stands out and has F1 tech on board, if you're someone who is a geek like me and likes technology and likes having a lot of tricks up their sleeves in terms of the hardware that their car gets, well, the C43 is the one for you.